Welcome back, everybody. We've got more Dota 2 action, and this time it's a Grand Finals. It's the I-League Grand Finals, best of 5 between HGT and LGD. We've seen the players getting warmed up and set up on stage. They've been introduced. They're out there. Only one series today, and it's the series to decide who's going to be the champion of I-League Season 2. These two teams have come a long way. LGD cruising through the winner bracket. HGT, they've been the team to beat Vici Gaming not once, but twice. Despite the fact Vici Gaming kind of widely considered one of the best teams in the world, having won the Summit 2, having won ESL 1 New York. But here these two teams are in the Grand Finals. I'm GoDz. Joining me is none other than Blaze. Blaze, best of 5 Grand Finals. Are you ready, buddy?
Oh, most certainly. This is going to be intense. Obviously, like when we're talking about tournaments here, it almost seems like I-League is being dwarfed a bit by DAC, but it's still over 100 grand prize pool, and these teams really want it. They have shown what they can do throughout the tournament, throughout the group stages, and obviously into the brackets here. And now in this final best of 5, it really could go either way. I think LGD is who I would put my money on, but HGT, they have pulled out a lot of really cool strats recently. They've highly prioritized the Wisp, which I think they'll pick up again for Kaka. So that's going to be a go-to for them here in the first phase. And they can just combo that with so many different heroes. They run with Bristleback, they run with Slark, Tiny, of course. There's so many ways they can go with it. And I really am looking forward to see Kaka on that Wisp.
I think LGD, I feel like, knew the Wisp was coming. It's HGT almost always first to pick it when it's not banned out. And most teams kind of have been banning out half the time. But the fact they first picked the Tidehunter is a good kind of way of dealing with any kind of relocating. The Insta Ravage is there, and if it's some kind of a BKB hero, you've got the Anchor Smash to go through and negate some of that physical damage. Good against a possible Tiny, which sometimes HGT pair with the Wisp. So I feel like LGD were well prepared and thought things through. They're like, okay, game 1, let's give them the Wisp and see if we can deal with it. Then from there, they can decide what they want to do in game 2, game 3, and so on and so forth.
Definitely. That's a great way to flesh out the metagame between these two teams as far as a full best of 5. In a best of 1 or best of 3, you don't get that much luxury where you can say, okay, we'll allow this strat through and not try to play against it. It's just like, it's a different one to perceive, but I think that it's going to be really good here with LGD picking up Sylar's Morphling.
Wow.
At least presumably. I mean, of course, the Out could pick it up, but Sylar's just so damn good on this hero, and it's scary in these hands. Now, it is worth noting that Skywrath Silence is a pretty good counter to Morphling's survivability tools. All of his spells are an escape mechanism of sort, and none of them can be activated when Silence is employed. Of course, the Strength Morph can be toggled on prior to his Silence connecting, and that might be enough to speed him away. And yeah, there's a lot of confidence here picking up the Morphling, but the cool thing is they don't have to ban for the Morphling. Like, usually you pick up Morphling, you follow it up with an Ancient Apparition ban, often a Rubik ban. Here they know the cards are on the table for the supports. Io, played by Kaka, a Skywrath Mage played by Pretty Ha. So they know exactly what to expect, and they know what they're getting into with this Morph pick.
That's a really good point. Yeah, you see the two supports. It's like the obvious counters, the AA, the Elder Titan, are both kind of supports. Elder Titan can go offlane, but he's not a hero that many of these teams are running, and I don't think it's something I've seen HGT run at all.
I think Icy has picked up a couple of times there, but they've done really weird roles with it, like because he's not as big of a core anymore. Like they go for a pseudo support, pseudo offlane role set. They kind of flip flop between Kaka and Icy, and they just can't do that here because Io is so set to his lane. He's got to kind of buddy up with somebody, and they don't really get to play around so much with the roles in a high profile match like this one.
Well, we'll see what the plan's going to be. They banned the Brew and the Tiny. Two good kind of just tempo controls, and the obvious partner for the Wisp as well in the Tiny. So as far as HGT concerned, I mean, you've got to expect the Tiny ban. They have other heroes they can partner with the Wisp, and sometimes they won't even go for an obvious Wisp partner with their drafts. You just want, the main thing is I think you want something that can farm stacks, be it neutral stacks, ancient stacks, one or the other, because that's something that Wisp can spend a lot of time doing. Two heroes to me that stand out: the Juggernaut. HGT will love to run for ZSMJ. They even go like offensive trial-ins every now and then. And also the Troll Warlord. They've been doing quite a bit with the Troll Warlord as well. They have these like tri-cores with really tanky heroes in the front line, and those are the kind of heroes that HGT have been really running a lot.
Yeah, most definitely. The Slark also kind of is really good against the Morphling, so that's also a possible pickup, but the Tide does manage him decently with the Anchor Smash and the Ravage, so they say, screw right clicks, we're going for the spells, the Bristleback spam. I could go still for that aggro tri-lane play, but with the Bristleback spamming out that physical damage output.
Well, this is a good pick. LGD immediately know what they want, and that's the Doom. Okay, they got Doom and Tide together, though, which if they're going straight Doom jungle, that is really greedy considering how much HGT have to punish this. HGT loves to dominate lanes. They want to. I think it was their BO3 against Vici Gaming where they went offensive tri lane every single game of the 3. They will look to punish you if you go greedy Doom jungle. So this maybe makes me think someone like Tide could even be considered as a mid laner here.
Mm-hmm. It is definitely possible. Angelina's got to play one of the two in my mind. Tide or Doom are going to be in his hands, and that he's got to figure out exactly what's going to be the most valuable asset here. Now, it's of course worth noting that Doom, prior to Aghanim Scepter, doesn't really counter Bristleback very well. He doesn't negate the passive. He just puts some damage over time on him, and he can't spam his own Quill Sprays. It only procs. So in that sense, maybe he just focuses on dooming the Slark so he can't get his spells off, or even an easier kill like the IO.
Well, it's going to be a Slark pick. You talked about this hero, something ZSMJ's run quite a bit of. And it's going to, I think, fit quite nicely here. There's a lot of space for this hero to get farmed. There is the Doom on the other team, but I think it was Blitz who I was casting with, and it's like, well, there was like a Storm pickup after someone picked Doomed, and I can't remember. Someone was saying, like, oh, it's like a Doom counters Storm. But it's like, well, Doom kind of counters every carry hero or core hero. It's like, if you just because you see a Doom, I don't feel like you can say, oh, they picked Doom. We can't pick Slark. We can't pick Storm. They're going to get doomed. It's like, well, someone's getting Doom regardless. I feel like Doom, like nowadays with Ag Scepter, Doom you just use on like a Viper or something because you just want to tank out the biggest, scariest, most high-impact hero your opposing team has. So that's going to be someone. So, end of the day, you can't just be deterred from picking a hero when you see a Doom, I feel. I feel like you got to draft to like around your own lineup with this. Most
definitely. It's probably better to pick as many Doom countered targets as possible so that he only gets to choose one prior to Refresher Orb, and maybe you can play it that way. In general, Doom, he's a lot slower in tempo than he used to be because of the nerf that requires Aghanim Scepter really to be the same hero he used to be. But all the same, if they can just kind of take away from Sylar's farm, Doom himself is probably going to have to go for Hand of Midas, and HGT can really control the early to mid game. The relocates early are going to be strong, and another great thing they have for their lineup is to be able to relocate the doomed target. If IO sees a point in time where they're just taking too much damage, they're doomed up, you just relocate them back to the fountain with the tether, and right now there's nothing to counter it. Like there's the Ravage, there's the Adaptive Strike. That can break the relocate, but you don't use them that way, generally speaking.
All right. Well, we'll see what the last couple picks are going to be. LGD saving their supports to last, and seems HGT are expecting a Tide or Doom to go mid. The other thing is you can send Morphling mid, and then you've got the safe lane Doom/Tide, which is kind of the more natural lane for some of these heroes. Like Tide is okay mid against some melee heroes, but Doom not really a good mid laner. Tide is okay against some heroes, but you don't even know what HGT is sending there yet. So maybe this will even be a Morphling mid if that's not something that HGT can punish.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. In this situation, like if you had like the Tiny in place of the Slark, you'd be worried about him taking too much pressure in the mid lane with that duo. But if it's IO Slark, not that big of a deal as far as the range.
You can send the Lich there too. You do like a Lich Morphling mid and then Doom +1 safe lane, Tide in the off lane, or Tide +1 safe lane. I think Doom may be the more natural safe laner, but I think either can work.
I definitely agree with that logic. And along with that, of course, it's more likely than anything to be like an aggressive IO Bristleback. We see that aggro try very frequently where the Bristleback just mans up because he's got a IO behind him. And I mean, there's a lot of spells being cast out. So both sides are going to get a lot of magic stick charges, and IO profits from that kind of twofold with the tether heal. So we'll see a lot of action very early. The rune contest is going to be pretty interesting in particular because obviously the bounty rune is so valuable for either of these teams to get kind of on their feet. The Morphling is very farm dependent. A Doom would love a little bit of extra early experience. And yeah, I think HGT are probably going to be the better ones to contest it in the first place right now. They have better early, like level 1 clash potential heroes. And I think that LGD want it more, but HGT have a better chance of taking the control over the runes.
All right, last pick, Night Stalker for HGT. They're going full face rush in some sense.
Man, towers are going to be dope. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, Bristle Night Stalker Slark with a Wisp backup. This is scary stuff for LGD. The Morphling, the one here, can kind of get away from that. I guess Tide, his anchor smashes are going to have to be huge this game. But this is going to look like a tough early to... If LG survive the early to mid game, their late game hands down better. But getting there is going to be the tough part.
Yeah, definitely. They have to have some amazing Chain Frost come out from the Lich against tethered targets. But we have mobile heroes with Bristleback's Warpath, with Slark with the Pounce, and obviously NS at nighttime is crazy fast. So it's going to be hard to actually get that more than 2 or 3 bounces unless they get I don't know, another controlling hero. But they have so many cores already. They go for the Clockwork. So they are going to be running this Doom as a support to an extent, it looks like, and juggling start. And then Clockwork will be that kind of person who keeps people locked in, keeps people close together so the Chain Frost can do its work. And he is that tempo controller they desperately needed to really weather the storm of this early mid game.
Okay. So, are they, considering going back to the greedy Doom jungle then, I guess?
Mm-hmm.
This is something which I feel HGT are definitely going to be looking to maybe even punish with some, like, Wisp plus Bristleback in the offlane is something which MVP Phoenix ran quite a bit of, where, especially if they're up in a 2v2 scenario, that lane just flat out beats some kind of whoever LGD sends there, and HGT can look to win almost all 3 lanes at this rate, even against a Lich.
Yeah, this is insane. I think the first and second night are going to be very telling of how aggressive HGT can really be. They'll kind of unlock that potential and just start diving in deep. The one thing you have to be worried about tower diving is the Tide getting level 6 and then being able to turn around with like a TP Ravage. But there's a couple things to note. First of all, it looks like it is going to be a supportish Tide with the Faith picking it up, unless they do go for a swap. In July is running that core offlane Doom, and yeah, we'll take the Clockwork to either the mid or safe lane. So that means the Ravage is delayed as far as experience goes. And also they've got amazing silences. Like, honestly, they can just kind of fire and forget, pop the Ancient Seal or the Crippling Fear on the Tide, and as long as they don't do enough damage to break through the Kraken threshold, they can kind of table that for later on in the fight. And that's going to allow them to get the high priority kills first.
All right, well, the last time these two teams met was in the winner bracket finals here at the I-League, and LGD took that series pretty convincingly 2-0. Both games, though, it was the Yao Ember Spirit, and that's the first adjustment HGT have made. They banned out that Ember Spirit both games. Well, so what am I talking about? They banned it out this first game. They also didn't pick up the Jug, which they took both of those games against LGD when they lost. So they definitely kind of have prepared drafts and have a different kind of mindset going into this series. Still sticking to their guns with the Wisp pick, but everything else about this is a little bit different. They do run a lot of the Slark, but I like that they are making these adjustments now in their second series against LGD in I-League.
The one thing that I am concerned about for LGD's side is their supports in the early game. Like, we know that the first few minutes are going to be very impactful for HGT, showing what they can do with this Bristleback, and right now you've got a Tide and a Lich support. Neither one really offering much to a level 1, even a level 2 clash is quite limited. And although they're kind of better as far as long-term, like they get better experience on the lane, they're able to do more longevity in terms of harassment with very efficient spells. I just feel like HGT pack more punch. They're going to be getting the early bounty rune on Kaka. He's going to get that bottle immediately at 0 minutes, and from there, as long as he stays far enough away, he's going to keep everybody else alive.
Yeah.
Starting at level 2.
One thing I do like about this Clockwork pick is it either forces HGT to keep one of their supports bottom with ZSMJ, or he's going to struggle to farm, because that is a matchup which Slack doesn't have that much fun in, 1v1 against the Clockwork. You could start 1v1 with like offensive Trilent and then catch the Clockwork by surprise, like around 5 minutes with like a Skywrath solo gank, which can probably get a kill, but in general, if you want your Slack to be farming well this game, he's going to need the Skywrath there down with him, which is not something HGT have shown they like doing. They kind of like having these offensive Tri-lanes, at least the option to go for them.
There's a lot of ways these lanes could pan out. If they expect HGT to go aggro, which is very probable considering the greed of LGD's draft, along with the fact that they have this nice, real bristleback, aggressive individual to go on the front lines, it's very possible they could kind of sack the safe lane and put their offlaner there. Put In July Doom on the safe lane and bring Sylar to either, you mentioned the mid. It's also possible they could bring it down bottom, like a Morphling Lich up against a Slark. He's not going to get much from that lane, and it's going to force a lot of rotations for HGT.
Okay. Well, bit of an extended pause coming out. Hopefully nothing too seriously. The Chinese stream actually working smoothly for once. I was excited when I opened it up and it wasn't freezing all over the place. We could actually see some of what was going on at the LAN, as I'll see if I can bring it back up here. But for now, it looks like they're just showing the good-looking Chinese casters. They got BBC and... who's the other guy casting with BBC? That's a good question. But it's going to be resumed. So we're back underway here. LGD. It looks like, kind of like you mentioned, you can send in July to the safe lane. Maybe at least try to get some early scouting. He's got boots first, and we'll probably look to figure out what exactly HGT are doing with their lanes.
Yeah, where they put their early wards that are on pretty high right now is a very important question, and then obviously them stacking on the top rune spawn is pretty much a guaranteed thing. So July will just ward that up right now, so they don't have to really deal with that. He'll wait a little bit and drop it down. One thing, I was looking over the cosmetics in ZSMJ. I actually noted that his weapon is actually the Golden Barb of Scotty, which comes from DAC, but he was gifted to it a week ago, and he already has 20 godlike sprees on the gem. So ZSMJ in the past week has gone godlike 20 times on Slark. That's something.
You know, I think I saw the translation of what this says, the dedication. It says, please beat LGD.
Oh, there you go.
And that was when they were playing in the winner bracket final. So some guy gifted this to him saying, please beat LGD. They lost 2-0. He even played Slark in one of those 2 games, I want to say, because that was when somebody sent me the translation. But this is his time to avenge himself. His Slark going to be making its resurgence here, and it's a cool little story that he's been gifted this item, and one of his big fans is hoping that he can win this grand finals.
Well, we'll see how it pans out. It's going to be a lot of tempo generated by HGT in these first few minutes. It's going to be on LGD to kind of delay that and figuring out how they can settle their lanes. For now, they are going to be sending Faith as a solo up to the top lane. Despite being a support player, he is running this Tide as a core for the moment, trying to see what he can get out of the lane. And this leaves a dual lane on the mid of Sylar and MMY.
So it seems Injulite is going to be playing a jungle Doom, although he's normally the off-lane player. Maybe they just feel more confident with him on the Doom. He goes in the neutrals, devours a big troll, but nice play by Skyreth to actually be in XP range for that, and he's going to come in and cause Doom some problems here as far as his jungle's concerned. So I like the start. That's a good way of dealing with the Doom. Meanwhile, top lane Faith may just be first blood. You've got Nasal Goo level 1, and Faith losing a lot of this armor. He's got just the Anchor Smash. They're looking to dive. This gets for another Anchor Smash. Icy needs the heals from Kaka. The bottle is there, but this is not going well for HGT. He's tingling his way out of there. Faith has Salve, as well as a lot of Tengos here at top lane. That was a failed first blood. I like the idea with the Goo, but that went horribly wrong.
Well, they will be able to salve up Kaka, so the tether heal makes it so that both of them get full HP off of that. But they use their entire first bottle. They use their first salve just to dive here onto Faith. And yeah, he was ready to juke as best he could. The Anchor Smash doing very nicely. And it's very interesting to see the Viscous Nasal Goo being the first skill up. It's almost never the case, but in that situation, it was almost enough to bring him down. Now, not going to be too valuable against the Kraken Shell, and he's just gonna, Faith is gonna play it safe. Magic Stick will come out at 200 gold, and from there he should be perfectly fine to survive against this duo.
It was just funny because like I saw he had like 4 Goose stacks on him and like had negative armor. I'm like, oh, he's gonna take a lot of right click damage, but then Bristle didn't right click hard because of the Anchor Smash, so it didn't really work out as planned for Icy. And the problem is you can't really dodge those Anchor Smashes. He's not gonna actually have a very good time. This 1v2 lane, I think Tide's actually got the edge here.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously not going to get a kill or anything, but he'll be able to hold his own. And with the Magic Stick, maybe with a turnaround TP, they won't be able to dive again until somebody else is contributing, presumably Air on the Night Stalker, who is going for a bottle of his own. It is on the courier
lane, tries to catch pretty hard on the cogs there.
So it's worth noting, Injulai got the Bounty Rune originally, so he was very close to level 2 when he was dueling it out with the Skywrath, and now he's actually up to level 3, going for a 1-2 build, so wants to get involved with the Scorched Earth and Tranquil Boots, and away the smoke goes.
This is something we're seeing a lot with a few of these teams. Like LGD especially love to create space for Sylar, and this early smoke gank could do so as such. Bottom lane Yao, though, getting get jumped. The concussive shot slow is there. ZSMJ needs a few more right clicks. The Skywrath is there, and there's a Dark Pact. He doesn't follow it up. The Arcane Bolt will get Yao, though. Doesn't get the Tengu off. The smoke coming bottom is going to not be there in time. The first blood goes away a pretty whore. I think ZSMJ could have got it if he kept chasing, but he didn't want to start tanking up the tower.
Yeah, the cogs could have turned it and made it so that he takes too much damage under tower. Now they go in onto Brielle, very quick kill without even using the Satyr Shockwave, and they will also force ZSMJ back a bit. But Kaka comes in, the bottle regen pops a double damage and is destroying MMY, but is taking a lot of damage in turn.
Yeah, he's got to get himself out of here. Has a tether in 2 seconds, so not exactly a good chase for Yao. And if Yao gets hit by a pounce, it's going to miss, though. Oh, ZSMJ. He's played a lot of this Slark, normally hits those, and not going to find the latch on there, as Yao does still take a lot of damage. So Yao immediately down to half HP right after TPing back to this lane.
Yeah. And you look at the top lane now, Icy is in a level 3 Bristleback versus a level 5 Tide matchup. Just this huge experience advantage from that dive and from the fact that the Wisp has been supporting so directly. It's insane. Faith is just able to do whatever he wants in this lane and actually probably beat him on CS pretty soon. They're even for the moment, but unless Air gets involved, maybe not for much longer.
And Sylar, in true Sylar fashion, the Morphling man himself, is top of the CS by a pretty decent margin here. And his CS is pretty impressive, almost at that like 7 CS a minute mark. And considering Nightstalker with the bonus base damage is not an easy hero to last hit against, this is a really good start for Sylar here.
Yeah, in some trouble.
Yeah, will probably get dived down here. One more Arcane Bolt is needed, and he's going to get it with the right click. Well, looks like a dead Clockwork, or it's going to be close. 112, he lives on 11 HP, okay. Just barely enough to survive that one.
But still, they force him back once again. The Clockwork down at level 4. They're going to be able to put some damage in the tier 1 tower, which is already at half HP. And I guess HGT are looking pretty good everywhere but the top lane. The top lane has kind of been rugged for the Bristleback, and we see actually Angel has made his movement here to actually go for the Jungle Doom play, and that's working out pretty well.
Yeah.
But we'll see how quickly this Morphling comes online. Supported by the Lich, he gets a lot of experience here, but if they get even one kill on him, they could turn that on its head.
Important, this isn't the first time Faith has actually played Tide. He played Tide mid lane. There will be a gank. Nightstalker's gone diving in. The tier 2 tower, you mentioned dives, they're going to happen. Well, they're happening now. MMY going to be the second casualty to Air's Nightstalker. The first night hits, and it's all out aggression here. They want In July possibly as well, but Air, bit low on HP and mana, still has this haste rune. If he can find In July, you betcha he will find him and go for this. In July gets off the Scorched Earth, has a decent amount of HP regen from this, but all it's going to take is some Wisp Balls to hit, but seems HGT are going to be pushed back, and Kaka tether out with a TP. Both of them going for the TP. Going to take themselves back home to safety.
Still nice management there, getting a lot of value out of the haste rune that he picked up at the 4-minute mark, as well as the fact that Kaka was actually, although empty on bottle, Air was giving his bottle charges to the Wisp. So he got the tether regen, they both benefited from it, and they almost got a third kill there. But as it is, Sylar falls once, they'll be probably warding that more actively and trying to keep him alive, but at least for now, he's so far forward, they could cripple him, and this would be another kill.
Yeah, you kind of want the cripple before he starts morphing, and they're going to go for it. Get some morph strength off, though. Still maybe going to be tough for Sylar to survive. He's only got 2 points in the morph strength, but the TP is going to scare off HGT's chases. Faith actually TP'd in pretty low on HP, but did have a Ravage available. Yeah,
and the max magic stick, so that would put him very far back up there as far as HP goes. He tangoes up, and he actually probably wants to use this Ravage sooner rather than later. Like, this, they need to get their feet back underneath them. They need to get some control over the map, and while they've been farming fine on top, and Sylar has been doing well up to this point, now the Bristleback and the Slark both pull ahead.
Suddenly, yeah, Morphling was a good 10 CS ahead of everyone else in the game, but no longer the case with the kill, and just HGT realizing, okay, we need to prioritize our farm a bit. The Nightstalker can create space for now, but Bristle and Slack want to farm. Probably see ZSMJ go for the Midas that he normally does, and I think if he can just keep farming while the other 4 heroes on his team fight, he'll then come in with a big farm advantage and be able to just kind of wreak havoc later on in the game. I don't think he needs to play that more aggressive ganking style of Slack.
So, at this point, it's worth noting that Sylar is currently sitting 45 to 23 on the strength to agi ratio. Very, very passive play from him, but he knows he can last hit with about 54 damage most of the time. Does miss the catapult there as a result of his current damage, but he feels he needs it because otherwise he'll just automatically die to an Ancient Seal.
Well, fair enough. And for LGD, they've got, we kind of talked about it, their supports are not exactly these good ganking supports. You've got a Lich, and I guess the Doom, or the Tide, depending on what you want to look at it as the support. But Doom trying to work on his level 6 in the jungle. Lich, just level 4, is playing that kind of passive sit back, spam your sacrifice, and look to just help secure your carry's farm. And speaking of carry's farm, it's Sylar at bottom rune, looking to get a bit out of this. Ooh, bottom invis rune, actually pretty whole walks forward. I'm not sure if that was the initial plan. As he's going to go down. ZSMJ does hit the pounce as well as the Dark Pact on the Sylar. One more right click, he's invis though. Oh no, of all the runes. Sylar gets an invis. Gets himself out of there.
Yeah, I mean, Regen Rune probably would have put him in a position where he was topped off anyways. That's the only other rune I could see giving him the edge in that situation. But yeah, Regen is going to be the invis, and He's still sitting so low on HP. Like, these bottle sips do nothing for him because he has such a gigantic HP pool with all this strength morphed up here. But still just refuses to leave the lane. He is here to stay, and now he's gonna probably fall back.
He wants to get like a replicate up so he can TP home and then replicate back in maybe, but unfortunately he's gone for this other, the more standard build where you don't get replicate until like level 9 maybe, but that TP back replicate trick sometimes does come in handy as a morphling.
Definitely. Now, I want to note real quick, the LGD supports wards right now. They're not bad by any stretch, like in a normal game, but up against the Night Stalker, the Darkness is going to pretty much nullify both of these major wards. They've got one on the mid lane, one towards the bottom rune, and they won't really be able to scout much other than people that are like right there ready to pounce on the Morphling. So, I don't know if they've really planned it out based on the fact they only get 675 vision from the Darkness, but looks like we will have a small clash up top.
Ravage on 2, the Doom comes out on the Bristleback. They want to kill the Wisp first, and they will get him. Bristle still pretty tanky, and he may even look to keep on fighting. Yao showing up, misses the hookshot though. Nice sidestep from Icy, and with Night Stalker here, it's also nighttime. The chase is on. Bristleback not backing off at all. The Anchor Smash comes through, catches out 2 though. And as a result, Faith going to find himself in a bit of a tough spot here as ZSMJ TP's in. He wants to fight. He's gone for this Midas build, but he's ready for action. Seeking blood here in the top lane, but not going to find anything. LGD, both Faith and Yao, get out of there on sub 200 HP. Air, his rotation, as well as ZSMJ, is not really amounting to too much there.
Yeah, so a lot of cooldowns popped on LGD's side, also committing all 5 heroes to this fight. End of the day, they don't get anything but a kill on a Wisp. And actually ZSMJ diving,
completely alone.
Such a bad spot.
His team all low on HP, all team fight it out. They've got nothing left in the tank, and Sylar should not have been up there considering HGT. With Wisp and with the Slark regen, they're just ready to constantly fight. They don't have that downtime, which LGD do, with the long cooldown on Ravage, on Doom, and just the fact that HGT have far more sustain to be out on the map more actively.
I was saying this before, but they really need to make every Ravage count this game. It's what's going to keep them in the game, in the early game, and yeah, that one just didn't do enough whatsoever. Clockwork has his hook back up. That's a pretty short cooldown, but it's probably not going to give them a chance to defend this tower. They're still trying for it, though. Tide TPing in, very, very tanky indeed, and he will scare them off with 2 heroes at his back.
Bristle starting to work on that mech. He's getting closer and closer. He's top of the farm right now. And ZSMJ, back top lane, has treads, has a magic stick, and he wants to keep on fighting. There's that Max Dark Pact, and with the Wisp support, I really like the Max Dark Pact, especially when you have the Wisp on your team. Just so much more constant damage and much more lower mana cost. Slark does actually run into quite a bit of mana problems if you want to fight quite actively, as ZSMJ is doing. And he's going to find this Doom here. Does have the Doom back up, and ZSMJ going to throw a preemptive Dark Pact and not succeed in getting any kills off of that.
Just a little too quick on his feet. Along with that, no blink, of course, on the Slark. As
maybe Yao, though. Also getting hit by a few long-range nukes, but HGT right now don't have good gap closes.
This is the problem with HGT making these movements. It's not the right time for it. It's not nighttime. They don't have darkness available, so Night Stalker isn't really a hero right now. Along with that, the Wisp doesn't have relocate up just yet. 5.5 means he's not able to get in position at the time they need him to. So I kind of feel like if they were going for that, they wanted a quick pick and to get out. But they were just trying to exploit the fact that Ravage was still on cooldown. Now it's up, and they play passive once again.
Sylar going to find another magical Invis rune here at the bottom lane. There's our Night Stalker. Going to pop the ultimate. Knight just hits.
He's got Invis and DD. Wow.
Oh. I feel like the move into the enemy jungle was trying to take advantage of the great vision HGT have. They have wards all over this dire jungle right now, and they were trying to turn that into kills, but not getting kills meant ZSMJ wasn't really farming when he could have been, and well, now those ultis for LGD are back up, and they are ready to fight somewhat. Bottom lane now, Pretty Hall going to get down a nice ward that scouts out the Ancients, the bottom tier 1 tower, and everything that goes with that.
And it is going to be the mech build from both sides, where Bristleback is going to pick us up pretty much now, and Faith is going to have his in just 100 gold. So a lot of important survivability coming out from both sides. Usually this early on, Bristleback has mana issues with that, but he's got the Wisp behind him. So a lot of bottle charges coming through. Eventually Arcanes will hit the field, and he should be able to manage his mana well enough, even with the intense 225 mana it requires.
It actually seems pretty important that Tide went for this mech over the Blink too, because I feel if HGT had the mech advantage, they could just 5-man
Definitely.
And just take tower after tower, because you're not killing anyone in Ravage. You don't have good burst damage. Doom is, until he has the Ag Scepter, is not getting kills with this Doom on its own. We saw last fight, he dooms the Bristleback, and Bristle just has to wait for the Doom to expire. So I think Tide going for the mech first is really important to keep LGD in kind of fighting shape such that they don't lose too many towers. As it is, they're already giving up some towers across the map, because they just kind of spread too thin right now.
Looks like LGD want to go now. There is some Ward Vision scouting out the movement of Air, Pretty Haw, and Icy. They do have the hook shot, and they do have Ice Armor up on everybody, so they really are raring to go, but trying to use Sylar as bait as they're all smoked up behind him.
Yep. Well, for now, they're not taking that bait. Tide mech online, Sylar gonna get himself a DD rune, so one of those, another good rune for Sylar. He's had multiple invises, and this DD, if they can find a fight with this, it's pretty nice, but priority number one is getting Sylar his farm. He's going to make himself down towards the bottom lane, and he is going to be rushing a BKB on the Morphling. Has picked up an Ogre Club back at base, so it seems BKB is the name of the game for him. In July, with an Ag Scepter coming up, and most of the way there. His farm's actually really good this game on the Doom.
Yep, and they actually might find a kill on him here. In July is quick, but this Void will slow him down immensely, and they can follow that up with a lot of spells here. Viscous Nasal Goo, the Concussive, it's all here, and this is going to be really bad.
In July, they don't commit to it. They see the Tide, and the mech as well as the Ravage threat is something they don't want to mess around with. Problem is, Morphling TP bottom, so he cannot get to this fight as much as he maybe wants to with that DD rune of his, so if HGT know he has no TP, this is the time to at least try and get this top tier 1 tower, which is already down below 200 HP.
So they have the vision advantage right now with the darkness, so it's very difficult for LGD to kind of see, 2 inches in front of their face, know what's lurking in the shadows, and right now it's the Rocket Flare that's giving them the vision they need. Kaka, very low on HP, but bottling like 3 or 4 times over here as he uses his teammates' bottles as well, and they are going to be able to go in with full strength. The Morphling, as you mentioned, the TP scroll, it's cooled down, and they're ready to fight if they need to.
So, Pretty Haw just going to swing himself bottom lane and take over this lane to get himself some more levels and just make sure that Sylar doesn't have complete uncontested farm there. I mean, he's pressuring the tower as well. That's the other big problem here. You don't want him to keep pressuring on that tower while you commit too many heroes to the top lane, kind of inefficiently, where you're not actually getting the same farm that LGD are right now.
So right now the kill counts are very low, and I don't think that favors HGT, although they definitely can go late. I mean, the Midas is going to expedite ZSMJ's farm, and the BKB is going to slow down Sylar's farm relative to alternatives. It's still going to be a really good late game for LGD, and they're okay with this low death count. However, if they start forcing the issue onto a tower, that's where HGT will draw the line, and even with just 2 heroes, they're going to force their opposition back, buy time for Slark to pick up the Blink, and ZSMJ using it to farm for now, but should be able to get in position for some good kills later.
It is nighttime with no darkness available, but Nightstalk has a haste rune, so he still could look to come and get involved. Just the Void does a lot of damage at this stage of the game. But LGD ready to kind of stand and fight, hold their ground here. They've got some big ultimates ready to go. And that's the one scary thing for HGT. They've got to make sure they don't clump up for a Ravage, Chain Frost, and if multiple heroes get caught in the cogs, that's going to spell their demise, essentially, against the big AoE ultis of LGD.
Definitely. Now, the Devour plus Midas on a Doom is going to give him a little bit more than what Slark gets just out of the Midas Blink opener, but he's also getting a lot of opportunity to push down on the bottom. They have a nice Observer Ward scouting things out, so they'll see rotations coming through this narrow area here. He sees Sylar getting aggressive with Agimorph. He knows reinforcements are en route, so he's going to fall back and go right back to his jungle, or maybe go for a pounce play, as he does see Faith trying to clear out these Ancients.
Faith is taking literally no damage.
Yeah.
I don't see him getting the kill, but he may look to at least steal some of these Ancients when they get low. Some of these bigger ones towards the end here. He's pinging it out. He's hoping for some backup here. Nightstalker's nearby, and I think that's a haste rune that's being... Oh, he's got the haste rune on him. There's a pounce. Relocate in. Faith needs to get this TP out. Anything to cancel? Oh. No, Nightstalker was too far. He went too soon. And just heads-up play from the Tide to insta TP out of there.
Man, no other way he gets out
of
it.
Oh, and top lane, they're waiting for the relocate. They've set up the cogs, going to trap 2 inside. There's your Chain Frost. This is an absolute decimation of HGT. The Chain Frost still bouncing back to the Bristleback. Can they actually kill the Bristleback? HGT kind of blocks it, but he's going to get the counter kill on Yao. The replica of the Bristleback is there, and they want to kind of dive for more, but doesn't seem like a well-advised idea, especially now. Injulay has an Ag Scepter, so Now he can deal with the Bristleback. I don't think there's any one key hero to doom, but whoever he does doom is pretty much dead. He'll use this for solo kills. If he finds the Bristleback, he'll doom him and take the kill.
Yeah. It's worth mentioning at this point in time how effective Mechanism is with a Wisp tether. He would have died there if he wasn't tethered up, but the heal goes from a 250 HP heal to 625 if the Wisp is injured sufficiently. So in that case, it's exactly what kept him alive and got a little bit more close spray damage to try to turn things around here. He regens back up with a rune, and yeah, they look to hold this top tower, still being pressured heavily by LGD.
They've probably seen the Doom Ags now, so they should be somewhat prepared for that. Bristle at top, though, has to be a little bit careful.
So how do you feel about this Night Stalker pick right now? I kind of feel like with only 1 kill and 2 assists, it hasn't done all that much. 1 or 2 good silences here and there, but overall, really not defining himself this game so far.
It's been average, I'd say. Like, I don't think it's been terribly useless. I don't think it's been that high impact. I guess the one thing, I feel like there's heroes which I'm like, oh, I feel like that hero, like a Death Prophet or something, would be doing more. But then I'm like, well, if you pick a Death Prophet, it's a hero that could get exploited for its squishiness and then get ganked a lot. Because it's a Night Stalker, you know Air was not going to die in mid lane. It wasn't a place where LGD could find kills to get into the game. I think for HGT, they always pick 3 very hard to kill core heroes. And I guess maybe something like a Troll Warlord would kind of scale a bit better, which we've seen them play before as a mid laner. I'm not sure what the alternative pick is, but
sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you in that it hasn't been a big playmaker just yet.
Well, not just yet, but of course the runes is what really makes Night Stalker the most powerful. He had that haste rune, did a lot of work with it down the mid lane, but there's going to be hooking right onto the Bristleback, turning his back as best he can. Mech's very early on
Doom. He cancelled the Doom cast. Really great Ancient Seal. Injulize, he's still silenced up. He's now got the Doom, but it's on the back foot already. Out goes your Wisp. He's going to tether himself through, and they've lost no one on the HGT side. Here comes ZSMJ on the Slark. He's got the Blink Dagger. Chain Frost's going to start bouncing around, catching mostly creeps so far. Injulize still silenced. He can't get off a Doom. They lose the Skyreth Mage, and if Injulize can doom anyone, it's probably a kill, but problem is he can't. Skyreth got off 2 Ancient Seals in that fight, I believe, which both cancelled a Doom.
Yeah, they even had the Cripple and Ancient Seal on both at once. It's just, this guy cannot open his mouth to save his life. We see the Tier 1 tower about to go down, but they dive past, they get the Doom out, and Icy will fall.
Doesn't even need a big Doom off that, but now it's on corner. He's TPing in behind them. He's going to cut off the retreat into 5 heroes. It's a ballsy play, and it may just pay off here. Bristleback is getting a lot of cruel stacks on all these heroes, starting to take some damage. The tether's not onto him, that's onto ZSMJ, allowing him to keep chasing. They've only killed the Tide. Looks like Injuly will not have an escape. Can he get out of there? No, Pounce will hit. 2 dead, meanwhile on the sidelines. It's Yao in the trees, trapped, surrounded, and a valuable 3-hero pickup off of the Bristleback buyback. Well worth the buyback there.
That was insane. He came in with his mech coming just off cooldown because the fight went so long, so he was very confident in that TP, even though it was straight into 5 heroes. A lot of cooldowns exhausted, his mech up, he says, let's go man mode, and it pays off dividends here. Just racking up the kills, cleaning it up. Of course, they did lose the tower, but they got 1 in turn, and even though there was a Ravage and a Doom in that fight, as well as the Chain Frost, which at level 1 is a whopping 120-second cooldown, here they take some amazing kills, and they might even go on Faith.
Yeah, Faith, that Ravage has got a mech, and ZSMJ, he just Dark Packs off the Anchor Smash, so they just keep on looking to poke and prod, but seems they're more concerned about the tower. They zone him away from the tower, they know there's no Ravage for a little bit longer, and they want to try get these objectives while they can, but TP in from Doom, 20 seconds before he's got another Doom, and this Tier 1 going down, and nothing LGD can say about that. Slark even getting the last hit in it. ZSMJ starting to accrue quite a lot of farm right now in this Slark.
Yeah, so he's building up substantially. The Midas Blink Opener is good for just getting involved. Like, he knows that he doesn't have to sit back and farm because the Midas every 100 seconds will give him the reliable gold he needs, and the Blink Dagger gets him in position to just make his hero that is naturally skilled at early combat. But at this point in time, it still looks like he's going to go back for the BKB. Very important against the Tide. Not that great against heroes like Doom, and the Ice Armor slow still goes through, but overall, it's going to allow him to be aggressive against the Morphling and not have to worry about the damage from the Lich.
Yeah. And the big concern for me for HGT is we're going to late game at this point, and you've got Doom, Morphling, Tide in the late game scenario. That to me, first thought looking at this is LGD have a much better late game lineup.
I definitely agree with you. I think the big thing is how they use their BKBs. Icy looks to be going for 1 as well. If they have 3 BKBs, they have to make sure those 10, 9, and 8 second charge usage is insanely impactful. Taking Roshan, pushing down tier 2s. They have to really make those valuable charges do work. Otherwise, they're going to start tapering. They're going to go down to 5-second duration. And at that point, Tide can wait it out. Hookshot, Cogs, Doom, things like that will wait out the charges so that eventually Faith can come in with that Blink Ravage and turn the fight in favor of LGD.
Sylar being forced to go for this BKB does mean he doesn't have the best... His farm's going to be quite slow with this. It's not exactly... I mean, it's a good team fighting item, but it's a very defensive item. So that's, I guess, the one nice thing is that LG will take a lot longer to get to that late game stage. They're going to instantly BKB, go for the TP out, Chain Frost, and Doom. Hello. 3 ultimates, no problem. Skywrath Mage is there. May go looking for a deny off of this, but that's all he can do. He's walking back and could have gone for it, but here comes the counter kills. Ravage going to catch on 3. ZSMJ in the Shadow Dance, still getting hit by that one. Kaka, he's invised up. That's going to save his life. What a time to get an invis. He's going to relocate out in a second. He, I think, just goes back by himself. Yeah, he breaks the tether at the right time, but ZSMJ's been abandoned now and he will go down. This is actually not going as well as HGT would have liked. Losing the Slack there is kind of costly, but Bristleback still in fighting shape, and with Doom on cooldown, Ravage on cooldown, fight's over for LGD.
Yeah, a lot of damage flying out. The Bristleback at the end of it did 2,400 damage in that fight, but the Ice Armor was still mitigating a ton of that. It is 5 armor for everybody that the Lich throws it out on, so all that physical damage being mitigated substantially, and they just couldn't find the kills. Close, but not enough to really make it worth all the aggressive movements they took there. Of course, it wasn't their fight in the first place. It was LGD finding a nice pick with some good vision, but end of the day, it's still LGD that are happy to walk away with what they did. And soon enough, the Doom will have that BKB. Like, the big issue that he was suffering from, the Crippling Fear, the Ancient Seal, keeping his Doom out of the fight, is not going to be an issue once that item is finished. And from there, they can actually start to going for offensive objectives themselves, pushing on the bottom and mid lanes.
Yep. Well, HGT now have finished off their 2nd and 3rd BKBs. Triple BKB is up, just needs to come out on the courier, so... If there's any time to fight, I feel it's now. Once it's nighttime, take objectives, take Roshan. Ideally. It's still not the easiest to do because Doom's going to have a BKB of his own, and it's mostly a guaranteed kill. Unless Wisp can make some big relocate saves back to the fountain or something, whoever gets doomed is...
So, just really good use of Ice Armor. Everybody's ready in case the fight does break out, and it makes it very difficult for HGT to make this move, even though they have currently some aspects of surprise. They come out against this Observer Ward, and yeah, LGD know what's coming. They're ready to rumble, even without the Ravage.
Yeah, versing a Blink Ravage is always tricky, even with BKBs, because if you get into that melee range for the Ravage, you hit them with it before they BKB most of the time. And that's where LGD could get an instant pick off on someone like a Night Stalker, or ideally the Slark, I would say, if you can find him with the Blink Ravage into a Doom. And then the fight maybe doesn't go as well as HGT would like.
Definitely. I think there's going to be a lot of kiting and position control from LGD, but first it's going to be ZSMJ pouncing onto Injular.
Well, they get the Doom off on the Bristleback, so they take him out of the fight for now, but he's still pretty tanky. The tether actually goes onto air on the Night Stalker. 1-for-1 trade so far. ZSMJ in Shadow Dance. Blink Ravage catches out just 1 or 2 there. ZSMJ still alive, pounces to the secret shop. And he's got Blink. He may look to re-engage once he's healed up. No Doom, no Ravage. Bristleback barely kept alive thanks to the Wisp here, and he's being healed up even further. Could go for the double mech in a second. That's going to really burst heal him up, and well, the dive is real. There's your mech, going to heal up ZSMJ as well, who has some issues here. Clockwork chasing him down by the secret shop. Immediate pounce out, though. Look at him back to safety. 1-for-1 trade. Doom for the Skywrath, but more importantly, Chain Frost, Doom, Ravage, Hookshot, all on cooldown.
And Sylar's BKB. That's just so difficult for them to actually get out of these situations. Now, they can't choose the fights choose them. ZSMJ, however, does miss the pounce. So they're not looking to siege this tower without bringing down one more hero, and with a failed initiation, it looks like they are going in retreat. So still have a good timing window, 100 seconds, with nighttime about to begin. HGT have a huge timing window. They can capitalize on LGT's vulnerability, and they can really start bringing this game into their fold. But at least for now, we're impressed by the Kaka's ability to keep the Bristleback alive, using the Blink Bug to get that crazy tether range, and then, of course, using things like Magic Wand, Bottle, and Urn to heal him.
Did he use that the Blink tether trick in that fight? Or
yeah, it's
call it what you want.
So good, but kind of something that should be fixed. I don't know.
It's been there for a while. I feel like if it gets seen more and more, it definitely will be on the hot fix list for Valve. But For now, Kaka, a bit low on mana. He's going to regroup with his team. And you mentioned this is a bit of a timing. There's no Ravage for another minute, so they do have Doom, though, which is, I guess, maybe deterrent enough for HGT to get too aggressive. But right now, HGT's vision is fantastic. They can see all throughout the enemy jungle. They can ideally find these pickoffs and safe opportunities to get kills at the start of a fight.
Yeah, Night Stalker does pop the darkness, but I'm not sure if they're actually going to be able to really stop LGD from understanding exactly what's going on. Still might be some Fog of War manipulation where it's hard to get off the spells they want on the targets they desire, but as it is, they are fully aware of HGT's position across the map.
Alright. Nice to have it going anyways, and as long as once it's daytime again, it's come back online, which I think he's timed it such that he'll have it when it is daytime, so... Just mess with the vision of LGD, and LGD actually going to go for a smoke. They're very limited on vision right now, so they're kind of smoking blindly at the enemy right now, leading with a replicate, which has 5 seconds left on it, but if you could bait out some spells with a replicate, it'd be pretty nice, but looks like 2-1, Morphling going to replicate in, and they're going to try to take a fight. He managed to sneak past the ward. It's going to be Kaka, gets an insta-blink off. Great reaction from him. Pretty Holo, though, gets kind of left to rot and burn, perhaps. Here comes Morphling, waveforming in, gets the adaptive strike. They do get the kill to level death. Now looking for a Doom target. Yeah, gets the hook shot, followed up by the Doom. They need the Wisp save. Buyback from the Scarith made nothing to protect Icy. ZSMJ goes in, going to be forced to defensively Shadow Dance. He can't really fight LGD right now. Air going to have to BKB somewhat defensively himself as well, and Pretty Hole going to die a second time. That's a dieback. They open up the T1 tower for the Taken, and everything turns up LGD in that team fight.
That was a huge fail on the side of HGT. The Slark was caught in trees via Blink and BKB'd in that situation, so there was nothing he could do for the fight with Pounce on cooldown. And the Wisp, trying to save the Bristleback, pops the relocate, but doesn't get the tether off. Tether timing just didn't get... The Bristleback died too quickly, so end of the day, the Bristleback falls, the relocate does nothing, and the Slark uses his 9-second BKB charge on absolutely nothing. LGD take that away with Ravage and the Chain Frost intact, going for Roche immediately thereafter.
Sylar going to pick up the Aegis, and he's going to have money for the E-Blade. But HGT, they want to contest this one. The perfect cogs from Meow, blocking off the entire pit, buying them the time they need to finish off Roshan. And there we go, snatched by ZSMJ. He blinks it at the perfect time and gets out of there. Hoo-hoo! They lose Air's Night Stalker, but that's worth it.
That is insane. Like, I was looking at how fast Night Stalker dropped down, but blinking in, snatching Aegis, pouncing out of the pit, and then Kaka tethering to the escapee Slark. They really just broke out a Dark Reef there.
Juking like a madman here on the Wisp. He goes to the low ground, and ZSMJ wants to fight. He has got Aegis, goes in on the Lich to start things off. But unfortunately gets trapped in a cogs here, forced to BKB the 4-staff out. This BKB not being used to great effect here, but instead moves on to Faith, who's going to go for the TP out. Skywrath ultimate, just barely enough damage to bring down the tide before the TP. Chase on. ZSMJ blink up and looking for that pounce. We'll go on to Sylar. Sylar tanks it for MMY and will waveform out. He was looking for the Lich there, I believe, and as a result, just the tide kill for now.
That steal, man. That was really well timed, very skillful, and this Aegis could do a lot of work for the Slark. They are able to bring down the tide, of course, but they're looking to follow it up with more. Like, their buyback on the Skywrath was expended, and they've fallen behind. If you look at the Golden Experience, it's all coming up LGD. If that Roche Aegis had gone to the Morphling, that's nearly GG. Like, the LGD have gained so much traction, but with it in the hands of the Slark, they have a lot of comeback potential. They're marching right down bottom lane, and they want to make something happen.
I just feel like I've seen this game so many times with LGD, where it's like 30 minutes of struggle, they're not doing that much in the lanes, Yao's in a position where he's trying to create space, but not getting too much done, and then suddenly, the Sylar Morphling shows up with his second big item. They win one team fight, they get Roshan, and then game's over. So, taking the Aegis there, at least preventing that one piece of the puzzle going LGD's way is going to help a bit, but they still have their work cut out for them, even with the Aegis in hand. I think, like you said, they've got to make great use of this Aegis. I don't think they can just sit back and try farm, because late game against Ag's Refresher Doom, which is coming awfully fast, he's already got the Oblivion staff, not stopping off at the Shiver's Guard or anything, is going to be a big challenge for HGT.
Yeah. It was actually in the pit that the courier delivered the E-Blade, and the Night Stalker just fell before he could even pop his BKB. It was crazy DPS put on him that he did not expect. But yeah, the cogs, I think, was really what gave them the opportunity to take that Roche in the first place, creating that space and delaying their invasion. But now I want to look over at the ward game and see how many sentries. There were actually 4 sentries just now on the map, spread out all over the Roche pit. They were really laying the groundwork for that one, trying to deny the vision from HGT. In the end, they still are able to relatively confidently engage and expertly snatch that Aegis. Now, trying to fight down bottom, the tower falls, and at this point, there's not much to be gained for HGT. The Slark can't TP. He doesn't have a TP scroll at all, actually. This is just a fight they couldn't take.
That fight kind of sums up the state of the game. HGT have an Aegis, but still cannot defend a tier 2 tower against the LGD 5-man. They just had to kind of let it go and prefer to try catch up a little bit on farm elsewhere on the map. Not like ZSMJ's got any big item coming his way that soon. The Abyssal Blade is coming next, but he could have been fighting with Aegis plus Basher there, but instead decides this is just not a fight that's going to go well for us. And I mean, looking at how the position of LGD was, I don't see any way HGT could have engaged.
They are pretty hard countered by these BKBs. Like, once the Slark gets the Abyssal Blade, he'll be in better straits, but right now, Doom and Morphling having the BKBs, the Tide having the Kraken Shell, they can't kill anybody without their spells getting off. I mean, maybe the Lich, but is that really the person you want to be starting the fight by dumping all your damage into? Not really. So they're going to go for a bit of a gambit here with Air's pickup of this Aghanim Scepter. Still a very powerful item on the Night Stalker, but vision hasn't been an issue this game. They've actually had a huge vision advantage at the beginning of that fight. LGD were smoking during darkness, and the smoke broke before they even saw the Wisp, who blinked out immediately. So vision wasn't the issue there.
Yeah. I feel like the big thing where the vision helps is going to be against the Doom. He's not going to blink. Yeah. If you can see him coming from as far away as possible, you can prevent those. Well, you don't really have a good way to, like, insta-stun him, though. That's the problem.
They still need the Abyssal. That's the bottom line. Is if they get the vision and they have Abyssal on ZSMJ, that's a different story. But right now, with that BKB, he's just going to go confidently forward right down the mid lane.
And he's already got the refresher. 35-minute Ags refresher. This is a big concern for HGT. You can't do that, but like you can't get Doom to go down. Oh, huge! Ravage catches 4. The hook shot going to get Kaka. He will tether himself out of there, but they've already lost Bristle, who's going to insta-buy back. They keep using these buybacks. Doom has used Refresher, but he's out of mana. So no mana for the second Doom for now. Slark, meanwhile, in the backlines gets 1 kill, but it's just a support Lich. Forced to just play defensively, pounce out of there. He wants back in maybe with this Aegis. This is the time to fight. Ravage has already been used. DSMJ goes back into the fray, but this is just a replica that he's bouncing around with. Doom now, once again, has mana. His silence is going to wear off, and if he can turn around and Doom, that's going to be huge, but it looks like the silence is going to last too damn long on him. And HGT cost him a bristleback buyback, but it's still a slightly favorable fight for them.
I'm really not sure why 3 members of LGD were pursuing Slark that desperately when his Aegis was going to expire anyways. He definitely wasn't going to die twice in that full-on engagement with all the buybacks coming out and how badly HGT wanted that fight. They probably would have been better off focusing other targets, but as it was, they tunnel visioned a little bit, and HGT were able to pursue heavily. The big thing there, the mana on the Doom, and he actually dropped a level death on the Wisp, which dropped down to like 50 HP, but he bottles, earns magic wands, does all his things, and survives without buying back.
Now, looks like HGT confident to fight around the Ravage cooldown, not to mention Doom being dead. He has got 1 Doom when he comes back alive, which HGT will have to be wary of, and ZSMJ, these missed pounces, somewhat costly. Gets the bash onto Yao, though. Yao will force-staff himself out of there, and this is one of the strengths of LGD's lamp right now. They're so good at just hiding and staying alive. The Ice Armor slows through the BKB. Then they've got the full stuff. Air now going to BKB. Look for Faith, but here comes the big bad Doom, and on sight of him, HGT scurry out of there.
I gotta say, I love Kaka's positioning that fight. He just blinked in the trees. He knew that he could relocate tether anybody that got doomed if they did, and maybe even could have gotten himself out since they wouldn't have known where he came from with the initial relocate. So a really good defensive position from him, but proves unnecessary as they just get to walk away. They don't take the tier 2. That's a big deal. The Ice Armor keeping it up, and obviously them being just scared off by the amount of damage coming out from LGD and the Doom respawn. So end of the day, we're looking at how they can break through the base, and CSMJ is pretty close to Abyssal, but I think he has to buy out. I think he has to kind of go for an all-in here.
Yeah, I think I'm all with you. If it gets a kill in the Doom before he gets off a single ultimate, you win the fight, I'd say. And you can commit your BKBs for killing off the Doom, and then if you get Ravage and your BKs wear off, I don't think LGD has the damage to kill more than maybe one or 2 heroes with the E-Blade from Morphling. So we'll see what the plan's going to be here. Doom needs something to help him stay alive longer. I imagine it's going to be the Shiver's Guard as his next item. And there's the Abyssal Blade you were talking about.
Yeah, I definitely had to buy out for that one. He's down in the dumps with only 128 reliable gold now. No buyback for him for a very long time, but a necessary cost to go in and try to make sure that they can take these fights, jumping in exactly as you called it. Now they have the vision advantage here. They've got Aga Gem Night Stalker, has the clear vision to D-ward, well, actually, the true vision to D-ward and the clear vision to see everything else, but here they go. The Abyssal on July.
There's your Abyssal. Can they burst him down before he gets off any ultimates? It looks like he's going to be okay. Gets the BKB off, and ZSMJ trapped in a machine-like cage here. He gets doomed up. He has not got buyback. The shock doesn't relocate. He's back in the fountain. His heals is going to be enough. That's going to save his life. Huge plays from Kaka's Wisp. They're still going to lose their tier 2 tower here, and Wisp, well, he's in a tough spot. I think he's going to leave ZSMJ back at base. Yeah, he will. He's going to try suicide himself, tether away, maybe going to survive. Nuh-uh, no chance. And Faith still with Ravage. HGT probably do not want to try and take this one.
Still, losing the Slark there would have just been the game, because he's level 19 without buyback, and they know that he just bought that Abyssal Blade. They would have forced the issue on it. So that relocate, while sacrificial, while still unable to do anything about the tier 2 tower, was 100% necessary to stay in the game.
I don't know what more they can do.
You know why it's first pick here.
What more damage can you dump on the Doom? Maybe the Skywrath ultimate was missing or something, but even with that, after the Abyssal stun wears off, he BKBs and...
He's just, I mean, he's 2200 HP, and with the ice armor, he's got 17 armor. Like,
ice
usually
armor,
4 armor, that's so easy
too,
to bring down. But with the +9 from ice and +4 from tranquils, he has a lot of EHP.
Yeah, I don't think you can... the Abyssal's the right idea, but they just don't have the follow-up damage. They need that secondary stun, which they have 0, like, reliable stuns. Doom out on the Bristleback, and this is going to be the end of Icy's life. This time around, he hasn't got a buyback. It's an 80-second respawn. ZSMJ in the middle of things. If he dies here, it's all over for HGT, it looks like. And even without him dying, it's looking really bad. ZSMJ, he's going to get hit by the Ravage. Great blink from Faith. Caught the pounce, prevented the escape. And with 3 dead, Wisp's going to be the 4th, it looks like, as he's going to relocate back in. Miss the save. He's going right into all 3 of these heroes. Actually gets the blink away, and Kaka, he's down for the count. It's GG.
Bottom line is, HGT went for a lineup that could dive and pick off and have high tempo, and LGD, you look at their lineup and how tanky these heroes can be. Maybe not the Lich, but again, low priority. If you have ice armor on a Morphling, a Doom, a Tide, and they have BKBs, how do you actually bring those heroes down within even 8 seconds? Like, the fights have to be extremely extended for the Essence Shift and the Quill Spray to stack up enough for them to actually turn the tide. And LGD, they just got enough farm that was never an issue, especially that insanely fast refresher timing on In July. I mean, he started off in a kind of awkward position as far as where, like, he was jungling, he was fighting a Skywrath at level 1, but end of the day, he got 540 GPM with the Midas, with the Devour, and of course with a great KDA, and he was able to get those game-winning items.
Well, that does it. Game 1 in the bag for LGD, as they're going to go into Game 2 with a 1-0 league in the I-League Grand Finals, competing for over $100,000 in prize money. I'm GoDz, joining me as Blaze. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Game 2 is up. We're going to see if HGT can bounce back, have a plan B, see what it's going to be. Stick around, more Dota 2 coming up after this.